Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we just got off of a series that was pretty long and a lot of thought to that. And I guess I just thought I wanted to think through a little something more fun. I suppose this is something I've spent a great deal of time thinking about. I've run into some other people on YouTube speaking about intentional communities. I guess until the last couple of years, I didn't even realize it was such a thing that people talked about or that they try to do or and but it is a thing that goes on out there. It's pretty small, pretty niche kind of in a way, but there's also a lot of people that are looking at it and looking at the world today and wondering if there isn't a better way to live. I am one such person. Well, let's start. Let's sit back and talk about how how I got to the point where I even think about intentional communities or why I even think about them and how I got there, and then we'll go from there. So when I was young, I grew up the first few 5 years or so. We lived rurally out in the middle of nowhere, miles from town, lots of land to go play in. I got to go outside, play in soybean fields, corn fields, all kinds of things, when I was young. There's just land everywhere. And then we moved to the city for a while. And then when I was about 11 or 12, maybe, we moved back out to a rural setting again. We had lots of land. We had there were people that like lived on plots beside us, but in rural plots are huge. Like we had more land than my entire apartment complex was on, and so did all the neighbors and on the two sides of us. And then there were undeveloped plots on the other side of us and whatnot. Well, behind us, one of the areas there was a huge, just a huge forest. It was pretty big, and if I went for a walk, that I would estimate is maybe a mile, mile and a half of a walk from where I lived. There was a little stream, and in this stream there was a little place where the water would pool. It was nice, clear water, had little fish, nothing particularly huge, and crawdads and things of that nature. And I would spend a tremendous amount of time just camping down there. I would sit down there during the day. I'd get out, knives or hatchets, and I'd whittle things. Like I'd whittle things to like trap my own fish. I tried making traps for other things, other forest creatures like squirrels or rabbits. I mean, I've never trapped any of those. None of my traps were successful. Well, the fishing traps were. I made fishing traps that caught fish and crawdads, and there's ways you can weave it. Anyway, that's not important. This what I'm talking about here is I spent huge amounts of time, and I guess my generation. I guess I'm at the very tail end of Generation X. They tell me, um, and we were just we were like free range, man. We really didn't have a lot of supervision. We were expected to go away, not bother the adults, and figure things out for ourselves. And that's what I did. And I'd be down there. Nobody said anything to me. I'd stay 3, 4 nights without coming home in the middle of the summer. I'd go stay 3, 4 nights down in the woods, and nobody'd say a thing to me. Nobody cared. It was a great way to avoid abuse, I guess, is what I will say. It was a great way to avoid the things going on at the house. If I wasn't there, I wasn't getting uh, treated poorly. And as I as I grew through my teen years and I resented more and more and more about the way people treated me, the more and more I idealized a life. Like I remember being 17, 18 years old and thinking that my life's goal should be to, I don't know, get some cheap land way up north in Canada and just go out in the middle of nowhere, and I don't have to be abused by anyone that way. Now, I'm not saying that that's the healthiest mindset, but that's where it started for me. Is out in nature is where I didn't get abused. And while I'm criticizing that as a bit of an unhealthy view, I want to be clear. I think I have a view of it today that is similar, but isn't as unhealthy. I'm not just looking to escape abuse. I see the abuse of the world as something that needs to be redesigned. The way we treat each other needs to be redesigned. The way that we interact, the things that we do to each other in society, the way that we treat each other for personal gain. it's a bit much. It's all abusive. It's like capitalism is just abuse. And I'm not saying capitalism, I'm not necessarily saying I'm an anti-capitalist. I see the problems with it. I see the problems with a lot of other systems of monetary or possession or things of that nature. I see problems with when people don't own anything or they don't have a vested interest in preserving a resource. Like there's a there's a huge set of problems trying to do better than capitalism. And sure, we've found it's not perfect. It doesn't solve our problems. We humans find a way to create huge problems in capitalism, but it is there a form of government that doesn't have huge problems? Is there any questions that us trying to get along doesn't create huge problems? And so I guess from that very early age, I had the knowledge that the world was abusive and I wanted to go my own route. Now, it was more the loner mentality of leave me alone, I don't want to do anything. But as I've lived life, I value friends. I value people. I'm still kind of a hermit, but I do value people. I do value relationship. I think we're important to each other. I I think the motivation of contributing to a group is probably one of the things that one of my biggest motivators throughout life is I feel good when I'm integrated and contributing to a group in a positive way. And if we can get out of this capitalistic individual mindset, is there a way that we can live better? And so I guess I've evolved those teenage me feelings to something trying to be healthier, something trying to um, think about it. And I guess at some point this idea evolved, and I guess I just want to create a commune. I didn't know what else to call it. People, like I said, people today are calling it intentional communities. I like the idea of an intentional community. I also kind of like that it rubs people wrong that I want to go start a commune. So I kind of like saying it that way too, because I think some people just get irritated because they they think I mean I'm going to go, start a cult or something. And the problem is anybody who goes and decides to defy mainstream, isn't that kind of what you're building is a cult? I mean, think about it. Cult isn't the root word of religion. Cult is the root word of culture. Um, and any community that you have that wants to live differently than the base of the world is going to have to develop their own culture. And once a culture is developed, does that make them cult members? Does a community like that, like, see, like, there's so many problems with a community like that. And there's so many problems with cults. Like, most cults don't start off with bad intentions. Most of the time the cult leader has a lot of good things to say. He thinks a lot about the world, but money and power corrupt. Hard choices start, like, think about being a leader, right? Like, if you have to make hard choice after hard choice, and no matter what you do, a percentage of the people are going to get upset, you get used to ignoring dissent. And when you get used to ignoring dissent, you stop missing when the dissent is necessary. And then you start having situations where people will ignore or squelch that dissent in some way because it threatens the group, is what the mind is trying to say, but it misses the corruption or how something has become off, and the primary goal is no longer the group. The primary goal becomes self-interest. Like, this is how corruption works, right? Like, we don't have to talk about this. Everybody knows how corruptions work. It's horrible. But but we've got all these problems with an intentional community, but what could we solve with like an intentional community? I guess we'll start with, like, instead, I don't want to go down all of the problems. There are lots and lots and lots of problems. But man, do I have the wonderful idea. And I don't even want to live in a huge intentional community. Like, I think the sweet spot might be like 30 to 50 people. I don't know, maybe people think I'm too small. I think if I think that a greater method would be trying to have interaction between communities, or Maybe even like certain kinds of member exchanges or something. But I think once a I think a group getting too large starts to become dangerous, and it becomes hard for everybody to want to do the same thing, and it becomes hard for common agreement. I mean, we see this with HOAs all the time. I mean, even just like a couple cul-de-sac neighborhood, with 40 or 50 residents. I mean, it can be out of control what goes on with the HOA, like homeowners associations. And they all own their own properties, and all they did was try to agree to make their neighborhood nice, and they can't even get along in that. And so how do you resolve those problems? Well, I think part of it becomes smaller, because when you have a situation where you have less people and everybody genuinely knows each other, the more intimately they know each other, the more that group feels like their tribe, and the more that group will overlook the differences. Like, this is one of the things that this individualistic society and the isolation has pushed us a long way from, is how important it is to have that community, how important it is when we're together with other people face to face, that we overlook differences because we still need them. Well, we aren't bound in a way to where we need each other, and a small group needs each other, and that's where, like, this is where, like, the family bond comes from. I mean, does our blood really bond us? I don't talk to almost any of my family members. I It is what it is, but I went my own way. I got tired of their opinions being different than mine. I got tired of being the one told I was the wrong about everything all the time. And well, that's fine. The black sheep will go their own way, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I had been allowed to be in that community, if I had been allowed to exist as myself, then I could see where that bond becomes something that is virtually unbreakable when people are need each other, when people depend on each other. And we have so many families today that that's breaking down in, mine included. And we have these problems. So how do we correct these things? Well, we have to examine what it is that causes those deep connections and relations and family, and try to apply that to other places. Um, and I think that's the answer. I think it's trying to have a group of people that everybody can really intimately know each other, and that will create agreement in the sense that everybody's needs will be valued, everybody's existence will be valued, everybody's voice will be valued. And not everybody's going to get their way all the time, but when you're connected like that, everybody's going to listen to each other better. Everybody's going to agree better. And I think the answer is just staying small. So my goal, I guess, has always been to work toward something like that. Now, I went, and between my teen years, I got married, I had 19 years. Went out, did the world thing, did the making money through programming, did the career thing, working too much, did the you know anyway, got divorced. That all ended, and now I'm back at, well, there's this unsettled way I've always wanted to live, and just be out of what everything else is that's going on. So what would that vision look like to me? Well, I guess in my idea, needing 30 to 50 people, I don't need that much. If I could find a way to get 30 to 50 acres of land, it was out in the middle of nowhere, and have enough money to just get a few things up off the ground, basic minor levels of electricity, basic minor levels of water, I think I'd just go and take a shot at starting on that land. Like, I've gone outside. We did build shelter out of sticks. We wove them together. We used sticks that were, I don't know, inch or so around, mostly green, and we just chop off little green stalk trees. I guess that's kind of a dick move. You're killing the next generation of the forest, but it's what we did. And we'd get these little green sticks, and you'd put one in the ground in the middle, and you put one in the ground on each side, and then you'd weave these sticks into there, and you could build a wall. Now, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't insulated, but all you have to do is take wet grass and toss it up against that, and most of the wet grass will kind of stick for a while. There's a lot of different ways to go about that, and I've built little things like that to. I mean, they were terrible, and you always get bugs. I mean, I guess mostly I did live in nylon tents, but I did make that. I did sleep in it a night. I had lots of bugs and spiders in my hair, and I wasn't prepared for that. So I could have made like an off-ground sleeping situation, which I didn't. But I could have done more. But but I've done these things. I've tried to like do these things before. I'd like to think I know what I'm getting myself into, but I don't know. But what would I do? So let's say I had that 30 to 50 acres of land. I don't know that I'd have the people to start out with. I bet there are three people that me and two others that would move there right away. I've talked to this about them, and I'm fairly certain if I were able to ever get this put together, I'd have those people, and they're people that I know and I trust that have been in my life, and that I think see the value in something like this. But then the growth would be the problem because, well, you don't want to live in a way that you're trying to control people. And so you want to find people that are in agreement with enough of your stuff to do that, but growing from there is hard. Now, would I do it with three people? Would I go out, find a way to make that happen and do it with three people? You know what? If I had the resources, I'd get up and I'd do that today. I do not have the resources. I I lost everything I had in, between divorce and illness. So there's nothing left to do that with. But I guess that's another reason I'm here talking about it is I got on YouTube. I started seeing other people that are out there. They do have land. They are living off grid. They are doing some form of this or working toward it or planning it or talking about it. And I guess that inspired me. I guess this video is probably later than it should be because this literally is the entire reason I got on YouTube. What if this is the way that I can get out of the rat race, I guess? What if this is the way that I can bring others out of the rat race? Because I don't know, I man, the world is not doing many of us a good service the way that I see it. Well, anyway, we get through all that, and then what would we want that to look like? Well, I'd probably, I guess if I had the resources, I could probably start with a trailer, but I think I would just want to build with what's on the land. I've I don't know, I've been kind of a lifelong fan of like the different discovery things where you have the mountain men episodes, or you have the people doing things like hunting and trapping in the Alaskan wilderness, or all of these things, and that all is interesting and fascinating to me. Um, and I think I could go out there and do it, and so I want to. And so I'd want to build buildings that were from the resources. I wouldn't want to deal with traditional building methods. I don't, or not, I'm sorry, not traditional, but like current modern building methods, because a lot of it's wasteful. A lot of it is, I mean, it just doesn't need to, everything doesn't need to be built the way that it is. And we've got easy, sustainable, natural materials that we can build things with. And I think that like there's a lot of ways to do a community, but I think I would, and there's obviously problems with this, right? Like you have the risk of you'd have to have a mechanism by which people can have an exit strategy, because if you have a commune and everybody's just living with the commune and somebody starts feeling like they can get out, like I've heard another person say that they think the answer is for everybody to be independently wealthy. And maybe that's the case. Maybe if you're independently wealthy, you come, you stay, nobody has anything on you, you can leave when you want because you have the means to go live elsewhere. But I just don't practically think that the kind of people that are going to be interested in that are going to have that kind of resources. So how do we solve that problem? Well, I think the answer is just an exit strategy. I think that I think that we have to find a way before we start bringing in people like the few people that know what they're getting into. That's like, yeah, we're doing this, we're committed to this, and if we grow it, we grow it. If we get there, we get there. Well, then we go and we try to find that way. And if we can build up to where we have the reserves to where somebody could go, you have, maybe you own an maybe the commune owns an apartment building in a nearby town. Somebody wants to leave. Hey, you can have a year in this apartment building. And you can go out there and you can go out there to get work and get, other things so that you can then become self-reliable again. And of course, all of that would come. They would have been working for our establishment. We'd be a registered corporation. I mean, now it is legal to pay people in room and board, so I mean, people would get paid to some degree. Like they'd have the room and board, and that would be part of the pay. But there would still be pay for work, and there would be work expected. And then the commune would do the business transactions. People, for the most part, would just get to more or less behave as employees. Um, and I think that with an exit strategy, also providing like a retirement plan, almost like a pension or something of that nature, um, it gives them a way that when they want to retire, they can stay and not have to work anymore because now they have money to to function within the community without having to produce anything more than they want, or they can go retire elsewhere. I mean, I just I don't think it's practical to think that we need somebody that's independently wealthy to prevent them from the trap of cult mentality trapping, or making them so dependent on you that they don't have that choice. Like that's just an unreasonable that is an unreasonable situation to put people in, and you do have to have a plan for that. But like I think there was anyway. Anyway, I was going to make a comparison. Don't need to do that. It's overkill here. And so I think exit strategies. I think having options for people to get out. I think all of that has to be thought out and well funded. You just basically need to have the resources on hand that if people went out, you're able to let them leave. Like that's just because otherwise you're going to end up with a bunch of coerced people, and now you're no better than a cult, right? You've got people that they have no options. It's all their friends, all the what they've invested in life and whatnot, and poorness on top of that or poverty on top of that would just be an unbearable thing. So having that exit strategy that is there, and then a pension or retirement plan, that's a second kind of of and maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's two one and the same, right? You go, there's a minimum. If you decide you want to leave before retirement age, we're not going to stop you. We'll just eat that one. We made a bad invitation, and that's okay. We're going to make that mistake sometimes. But if you choose not to leave, then you get you get the contributions to what it is that you're going on. And if you're there for 10 years before you want to leave, well, then your retirement is your starting out fund for going and doing whatever you want then. I mean, I like I think there's ways of doing that, but it's a problem we have to think about. And I think it's a problem that would be further down the road because I think we'd start small. um, Anyway, I guess I've just been rambling about the idea. It's something I'll talk about more. I guess I wanted to talk more about the ideas, the visions of what there is and all of that. But I guess starting to talk about that, I guess it's just we're starting somewhere. So I guess with that, I guess the point is that I guess I'm putting it out there. I guess that's the ultimate dream. I guess one day I want to have such a community where maybe we have a couple dozen people that just live and work together and are just more interested than living a life that is about nature and community over competition and hoarding. Um, I guess I just believe that life is possible, or maybe it's just an idealization from my childhood thoughts. Anyway, I guess that's the thoughts for I'm gonna have today. It seemed a little weirdly technical for trying to get a division out. I don't know why I explained some of the things I did this way. Maybe I'll reshoot the whole thing. Who knows? That's the fun of being a YouTuber, right? You go, you say some stuff, then you decide if you actually want that to go out to everybody. Um, but Anyway, I guess that's an intro to our topic here, or the first time we've talked about it, and we'll get back to it. We'll talk about this more. It is a dream of mine, and ultimately, I guess it's what I'm trying to work toward. I'm trying to build a community where I can find people that may want to be a part of it one day. I'm looking for the community that I want to build that I don't know may want to fund my initial efforts. Maybe I'm looking for investors. Maybe I'm looking. I don't know. Maybe I'm ready to move on this at that degree. I don't know. But for now, it's just getting out there, understanding, trying to generate a new way to get out of the right race and get to the dream that I envision. The that kind of peace of mind. Anyway, until then, until next time, be well.